Welcome to Beyond the Stockroom, where we will be exploring the vast career opportunities that exist beyond the stockroom. What happens when a product is out of stock? That's where we come in. Hey everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Stockroom. We're so excited to have one of our close colleagues and high up people in this industry out here, Terence Morris, and he will gladly introduce himself, talk more about being as high up as I just
and how he got here and got to where he is.
What that's a great introduction. I appreciate that. Hello, folks. I'm Terence Morris, Senior Vice President of Gift Leasing for ANDMORE. I've been in this business for a long time, and it's a pleasure to sit with these two fine folks who I not only consider colleagues, but I consider family. So it's a pleasure for me to be here with them today, and let's just jump into the discussion.
Yay. Oh, cool. So how did you find your way into this industry and become the head of leasing? What's the whole
Well, like when I say a long time, it's been a long time. I think I know that I started in this industry in the late to early 90s. And I started actually with a rep group called CMA, California Marketing Associates. And with that particular organization, I kind of rolled into a sales role. And after that, probably in I think 1993, something like that, I got on the actual trade show side of the business. I used to be vice president and general manager of the California Gift Show when that existed, and from there I moved from that position. I think they sold the business, which was owned by the Portman family at that particular point in time. And the Portman family, for those of you who don't know, is a family that owned the Atlanta Market Center. So they sold the business in 1999. I was with the company. I had to remain with the company through 2001 because that was part of the contract agreement. At which time in 2001, I moved to Atlanta to assume responsibility of the gift mart and leasing for the gift mart. So I did that from 2001 until 2011, at which time I took a temporary left and started my own business and consulting business. And then I got back in the business on the permanent leasing side back in 2012. So short interruption. And ANDMORE came along after I was with IMC at that particular point in time. That actually changed their name to ANDMORE. So that's kind of how I got to where I sit today.
Nice. That's awesome. What were you doing before you found CMA, and maybe how did you find CMA to apply for those jobs?
It's a funny story. I after I got out of school and I moved to California because I'm originally from Tennessee, but so when I got there, did some retail work for a short amount of time, and I decided that I wanted to do something different. I wanted to get out of retail, and you all are young, so you won't know this, but back in those days, that's when they had ads in newspapers that you had to look at to try to find jobs. So there wasn't all this stuff they call the internet and things like that.
It's okay, you're not the first to mention that on the podcast.
Yeah,
My dad.
yeah. So interesting enough, I saw an ad in the newspaper that says that they were looking for a service rep. And at that particular point in time, back then, in California, they had, I think, probably 15, 20 department stores because they hadn't combined. So you had like Buffalo's and Bullocks, and you had the actual, it was called May Company back then. And then you had Robinson's. And I mean, you had a lot of different stores that were out there. And CMA, fortunately enough, for one of the agencies that had a lot of product in all those stores. So my responsibility at that time was to service, meaning that I would go to those stores and make sure that the product that we sold to them were out on the shelves, and I would do inventory for reorders. And that's how I really kind of got into the business. I was driving all over Southern California, servicing stores at that particular point in time. And that kind of helped me understand the business, and it also provided me the opportunity to get into the sales component of the business. So that's how it kind of, fluctuated. So
that's amazing.
That's so cool.
So were you kind of like not so much the sales rep, not placing the products in the stores, but more so going to kind of almost aid the sales rep at the time, and you were just
correct.
it?
That's a
Interesting.
great way of looking at it. That's a great way of looking at it because what I did is I work with a good friend of mine, and you guys may or may not remember. I know your mother does actually. A gentleman by the name of Bob Gentry,
Oh yes,
and,
Oh,
Bob Country. Yep.
and
heard the name.
God rest his soul. He passed a couple of years ago, a year ago, I believe it was. But Bob brought me into the business because I worked directly for him. He was the key accounts rep for all of the department stores. So he was the one who sold it, and I was the one who again went out and make sure that it was out there, so that he got all the business. I didn't. I was kind of like the person
Yeah,
doing.
yeah. Well, this is a role that we've kind of been talking about in our episodes and a good entry level point for people who
Right.
you want to test the waters, can't make it to a show just yet, but hey, find a rep and you could service for them and
Absolutely. Or, yeah, I think that's if they still do that, I'm sure they probably do. I'm
yeah,
sure that
mind you.
position, yeah,
Yeah.
that does that. So, and to your point, it's a great way to get involved in the industry and really kind of understand the dynamics behind it because, I would sit in on meetings with the buyers when they were doing it, so I kind of understood how they were selling, how that whole thing worked out, and got that kind of exposure. So that's a good way, really good way of getting into business if that's something you chose to do. Because I immediately loved it. I really did. It was like one of those things where I was free to go do what I needed to do. I mean, I start at 9 o'clock, I can be done by noon, or I can start at 9 o'clock, I can be done by 4. It really kind of depended on how many stores I had to see that day, how much product was out there. So there's a lot of flexibility to that. But also when I wasn't working, doing that, I was in the showroom and helping set up or doing whatever it is I did. So you can get it's a great entry level for sure.
Yeah, cool.
Absolutely.
So then you moved into leasing. So what took you from the sales side into leasing?
So basically, I was doing when I was running the California Gift Show. That's a trade show, right? That's the trade
Right.
show component. So
Yeah.
I was doing trade show sales, and I just kind of, from there progressed
Yeah.
into actually permanent leasing. And I mean, they're literally they're the same theoretically. The difference is trade shows you're selling every 6 months. Leasing, you're providing a 36-month lease for somebody, and that's how it operates. So
Yeah.
terms are different, all that kind of stuff, but the sales, it's about the relationship. Truly is.
Absolutely.
That's what
Wow.
you.
Even
Relationships.
in the leasing world, it's all about the relationships
Yeah,
piece.
look, this business, and I know we'll talk about it later, but this business is all about relationships. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why it has lasted as long as it has, and I think to some degree, I think we've kind of gotten away from that. So
Yeah. For any listeners that might currently be like a property manager or a leasing agent at an apartment complex or um, even for a property management company and they handle leasing, would you say that your background of the industry has helped in your position now within the industry? Or do you think that somebody from that background right now could translate those skills into coming into this industry?
well, one thing I'll say about this industry is you don't need a lot of experience. I think that you need to understand how the industry operates. And I think once you understand that, again, it's about, building trust and building a relationship. And, that's because, like, at the end of the day, someone's only going to do business with you if they trust you.
Yeah.
And they're not going to make a decision on whether they do business with you or not. I mean, like, we all, everyone runs a business, right? And you have to look at the best metrics for your business and what's going to make it successful for you. So I know people they don't lease from me because I'm Terence Morris. I mean, they will have a conversation with me because of that, because they know me, but they're not making a decision based on me solely. And that's the same thing. So if you want to come into the industry, you have to you have to have a passion about this business, because this business has, ebb and flows, right? Like everything else. And when it's doing that, you have to feel comfortable with how that transpires, and your role in it. You have to want to do this business. This is not something that
Absolutely.
yeah, you
Yeah,
have
I
to want
agree.
Yeah.
Nice.
And one quick question, like when you were doing the servicing, I'm sure that was probably different. You probably enjoyed the freedom. What, like, since that was kind of your first taste outside of retail of the industry, what like hooked you in to where you wanted to pursue other avenues within it versus just like going and doing something else in the Southern
yeah,
California?
I'm gonna say this a lot today, so I'm gonna repeat myself, but it truly was. I've met a lot of lifetime friends in this business. I mean, I really have. And what's interesting is about what kind of drew me in. And a funny story I'll tell you about when I first started with CMA, for instance. I had nothing. I had no idea what this industry was. I applied for a job through a newspaper. I got there, and this my role was a service rep, and I started doing it, and I really enjoyed it. And I never forget, I was probably on the job for maybe 3 weeks, I think it was. And at that particular point in time, the gentleman that owned CMA, his name was Mickey Lane, and Mickey had his vice president was Carl Wagland, who was so 3 weeks to the job, Mickey has Carl turns 50, and Mickey has everyone in the company over to his house for Carl's 50th birthday. And now, granted, I'd been there for 3 weeks. I really didn't know anybody. Nobody really knew me, but I got invited to the party. I'm assuming because I was an employee of the company. With that
Right.
being said, I get to the house, and again, I know Bob and I know a couple other people, but I don't know because I hadn't really been around the reps because it wasn't a market. So I'm kind of off to myself because I'm like trying to just be under the radar theoretically because again I don't really know many anybody. But Mickey came over and sat and talked to me. Like this is a party that he's producing. He has all these people at his house and it's this big house and Malibu and all these things. And he talked to me for like 45 minutes and he's like he was excited about me working for the company. And in my mind I'm thinking, my God, like this guy, the president of the company, is sitting here 45 minutes with me, who's a service rep, whatever that means, right?
Yeah.
But that my impression though was like, wow, how cool is this? Whatever I'm doing, I couldn't call it an industry because I didn't know it was an industry, but I did know that I would work for him anywhere because of how he made me feel as an employee of his. And I think it's more about that, right? He made me feel important,
Right.
which made me want to work hard for him. And then I did work hard and that provided other opportunities for me because people saw that and got to know me. And so, but I realized I'm like, this, and as I was doing these different things, I'm like, man, how exciting is this? How cool is this? Because I started meeting other people,
Yeah.
and it built from there. So I'm like, what a great industry when I realized that it was an industry.
Yeah, nice.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I hope we exhibit that through our podcast about how great the people are and we're just wanting to talk and
I'm sure,
meet.
look,
But
I'm sure you
yeah,
guys will.
so
I mean, you guys are an example of what the industry really is. And I think that,
thank you.
it's crazy because, I wish that more younger people understood and would get excited about the industry because it's still, you can transfer these skill sets
Yeah.
in other ways,
Absolutely.
right? I mean, you can, but you still get excited about this industry though. So
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it teaches you a lot of skills for
absolutely,
the different roles
absolutely,
there are,
absolutely.
you know.
You
Yeah.
can't
I think
be you can't be bashful in this
Yeah.
business.
It's true.
no,
It's very true.
you cannot. Yeah, and I think part of it is also just like that exposure aspect, and I think that's what's hard is, I look, there's younger people that we've even talked to recently that have gotten into it, and then like most of us, right, just fell in love with it and found their way in it, and I think we just like I have a strong feeling that that would occur for a lot of people. It's just how do we make this known, and I think this is a great avenue to do that reaches a broader audience. But it's hard because like Atlanta's America's Word, right?
Yeah.
I watch Facebook Shorts or YouTube Shorts, whatever they
Oh
are,
yeah.
and it's the Cadillac Chronicles. And I'm a big hip hop head, but it's a guy that drives a Cadillac with an artist sitting passenger side, and they're basically performing their song through the streets. And 9 times out of 10, because a lot of artists come from Atlanta, they're driving right under the buildings
You
of
can see all the
America's Mark.
bridges.
And I know it's America's Mark because I see Building 1 and Building 2. And I'm like, see, so many people go past those buildings and they just have no idea what they are.
No idea,
There's
no
no
idea.
windows, there's nothing. You can't get into them.
Yeah.
Listen, it's hard for me to even explain to people what I do. When
Yeah.
when someone says, "Hey, what do you do?" and I have to my original answer is I do commercial real estate because I don't know what else to say. That's kind of resonates with people. But I'm really not in commercial real estate because we're not a commercial real estate person. We have we produce markets in the gift
Right.
home furnishing apparel business. That's what we do. And we own the property. That's kind of, but still people like this, huh?
Yeah.
you know, and so it's hard, it's very hard to,
Yeah.
and I think that goes to your question. how do you get people involved? It's hard to get people involved when it's hard to explain it. Like
Absolutely.
you have to kind of live it to be able to really kind of, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I guess that kind of brings me into a newer point. Newer point. Exciting topic. A lot of people have heard us talk about the Gift Home and Trade Association on the podcast. Terrence, you're heavily involved, and on this topic of getting more people involved, you, I think, with Adriana, have started the DEI committee, right?
We did start that committee originally, correct?
Yeah,
That was, what was
a
it?
couple years ago.
A couple of years ago. Yes, we
Yeah,
started.
nice.
Uh,
So,
and I was asking, and then I kind of carteled her to come into it with me. So yes, we kind of like, the GHCA asked for it. They're like, we need to provide the type of, opportunities. Yeah.
yeah, nice.
Absolutely.
So what kind of, I'm on the committee this year. I'm really
Yes,
excited
you are.
about it. What kind of like goals and missions, I guess, anything you want to share on that topic to our listeners?
Well, I think, listen, and not in any sense, trying to make any type of political stance or
Right.
nothing like that. But it's a very sensitive subject because it's you. It's, I'm not sure exactly what we can do based on where everything is set. I think that it's just our objective is to make sure that there continues to be an awareness and along with that awareness, a conversation, right? And that's pretty much where, because it covers a lot of different things. It's not just about
Yeah,
black
it
or
does.
not like, there's a lot of people that fall into that diversity category that need a voice, and
Mhm.
regardless of what anybody says. And the voice is just basically, listen, everybody wants to be treated fairly and everybody wants to have access. And that's really kind of, and listen, as
Yeah.
an African American man in this business, who's been in this business for a long time, who does not see a lot of my kind,
Mhm.
I want nothing more than that, for that purpose. Like I said, I don't want anything special. I just want
Right.
sure that it's a leveling playing field for me. Simple as that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
love it. Well, I'm excited to be part of it, so we'll go
We're
accomplish
we're
more.
excited to have you for sure.
Make great things happen.
Yeah. All right. Well, back to leasing. What does your average day today sort of look like in your current role?
Well, I have, let's see, I have 6 permanent leasing agents, but I'm also involved in the trade show side of the business as well. So I manage trade shows and perms for both Las Vegas as well as Atlanta. So my team, I have a pretty extensive team. Like I said, I have 5 or 6 permanent people, and then I have about 12 trade show people. So a day in my life is really kind of navigating through whatever they're navigating through, right? So it's, I'm part of the negotiations. I'm part of fixing. I'm part of like, trying to make sure that we are. My goal or my responsibility is providing everybody with the tools they need to be successful. That's what I do. And that's, every day is different. And it really kind of depends on, as we lead into market only been a south. We're crossing T's, dotting I's. We're making sure that we're getting as many deals done as possible. We're making sure that where we have cancellations, we have backfills. Where we have holes, we have something in it. That type of thing is really kind of that's what we do, or that's what a day in my life looks like for.
Yeah. Management more so, but
Management.
Yeah.
leasing.
But I
Yeah.
still, I have, it's interesting. I still have a few accounts that I work with directly only because I've had those relationships with the people for a while. So I do that, but very few because I have to be, I'm
Yeah.
really kind of driving the business theoretically.
Yeah. Sure. Cool. Nice. How do you think your role, yeah, we kind of touched on this, but what does your role differ from a traditional head of leasing at another place?
Well, again, it depends on what category. If you're talking about commercial leasing, I think that commercial leasing is different, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're doing the deals as well as doing the management. Like for instance, my role is strictly leasing. Now we have people that, once the lease is completed, we have operations people, we have TRMs, which are tenant relation managers. So we have people that really kind of work the business.
Mhm.
So it takes us out of that. But still, when people are looking for someone, they're looking for the person that they know. They're looking for their contact. So that's how
Yeah.
that's.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also, since you're primarily on the gift side, do you manage any of the leasing in the High Point market?
Hmm.
Because I
I
believe
do
that's
not.
also an ANDMORE building. No? Okay.
No, no,
Okay.
that falls under the furniture and home decor
Gotcha.
business side. Well,
Okay, so yeah, like what are the categories? If you're the gift head of gift leasing, what are all the categories?
well, I mean, so gift is the category of my
Okay.
category. Then you
Yeah.
have a counterpart that does all of apparel,
Okay.
and
Okay.
counterpart that does home decor, and I have a counterpart that does furniture leasing as well. So you have those pockets, and then things fall into those different areas.
Yeah. Cool.
Sure, sure.
Nice.
Some overlap, I'm
I
sure.
didn't even realize it was split up like that, but
It is, and it basically is by, for the most part, it's by the buildings, right? It's kind of like in Las Vegas. Now, Las Vegas is different because Las Vegas we have furniture out there.
yeah.
Only thing that we don't have in Las Vegas right now, and particularly from a perm perspective, is apparel, and we're
Yeah.
working. So I mean, once we have apparel, then it kind of match all the other buildings.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, what other roles and careers does ANDMORE offer? You kind of touched on a few, but
Well, again, I mean, we have marketing, we have, operations, we have IT. I mean, we have everything most large companies have. We have those particular positions
yeah.
now. Some of those are not customer facing, right? Those are just jobs that are being had behind the scenes, equally important.
Mhm.
You know, but yeah, there's numerous things that you can do if you chose to
Yeah.
in our camp.
Do you think understanding of the industry in any role at ANDMORE would be beneficial to people? Or maybe some roles not so much, like IT, maybe not, but I don't know. Dylan had some crazy stuff go on with IT last
We actually
show.
had to work with the ANDMORE IT to help like a very weird showroom network issue that was going on.
Right.
So, I mean, to your question, Delaney, I think in any role it helps if you understand who your customer is as a business, right? Even if you may not be customer facing, to your point, Terrence, but like understanding the purpose behind what you're doing and how that impacts the customer to a degree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Listen, I mean, it's not our markets are not markets or business. It's not just about leasing. I mean, it's just not about connecting the buyer with the seller. I mean, that's obviously a very critical part of it. But when you connect them, you have to make sure that Wi-Fi works. I mean, you have to make sure that there's systems that you can use for writing orders versus what we used to do in writing hand. I mean,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of different components that come into play and jobs that are very important
Yeah.
to help people be successful in their business for sure.
Yeah. Okay. And more for our listeners is probably one of the largest companies in the industry. Um, Second to, I guess, I don't know. I don't even know. It's probably the largest company.
I mean,
yeah,
at this particular point in time, I think
Yeah.
because we
Yeah.
have, if you think about, we have probably 20 million square feet of space across all of our campuses. So that's a pretty substantial amount of space that has
quite
to be
Yeah. For
care of.
sure.
Exactly. Right. Correct.
Crazy. All right. Well, from your many experiences within the industry and now where you are, especially being in leasing, what do you think the next 5 to 10 years of this industry looks like?
It's interesting. I saw this question and I was like, how do I even try to tackle that for the most part? Because as we see today, there's no consistency. There's no, I mean, there's a lot of, there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of unknowns out there, and it's hard to predict what tomorrow holds because we don't know what tomorrow holds.
right.
So I think that as we're going through, I think that people are trying to navigate the best they possibly can. I think that listen, the business itself as it sits, it will change, no
Mhm.
question about it.
Yeah.
But
Oh, we
it will,
have.
yeah, but it will always exist.
Yeah.
It may look different from a perspective of, as we've seen, a lot of places are not as large as they used to be. But it doesn't mean that they're not effective. So I think it's going to be more of that. I think there would be probably, if I had to predict it, I have nothing, no tarot cards to give me the information, but I think that if I had to, there's going to be some consolidation going on for sure. We already
Yeah.
see that happening.
Yeah.
But I think that can make it stronger. I think that, it's more of that if I had to predict anything, more
Mhm.
consolidation stuff. But
Yeah.
again, I think that, and I will always feel that, markets are extremely important
Yeah.
because you want to know who you're doing business with. B, you want to touch and feel a product. You know, all those things that come along with really kind of that interaction with the buyer and the seller theoretically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we're a people industry, a people business.
Absolutely.
You're buying products and you're selling products, and we are all about,
Yeah.
people, interactivity and stuff. So
Exactly.
Absolutely. Totally
Nice.
agree. Yeah.
What what if any advice could you give to our listeners that maybe are interested in joining the industry but don't know where to maybe start or go or
I would say ask questions. I mean, if you're really interested, ask around or go to a market if you can and kind of get a feel for what it's like and again, see if that's something you like. It's a lot of work. I mean, it's not an easy thing, in particular in today's environment. You know, you have to, it's work. And
Yep.
if you don't want to do the work, then you don't, but you have to, and the only way you're going to do the work is if you're really passionate behind it, right? You got to say, this is what I want to do. That's what I did
Yeah.
25, almost 30 years ago. Like, this is what I want to do. Now it's different today, but I think that you'll find that it's different, but it's not different. I think that the people that are in it still are passionate about it and still would be willing to help and still be
Yeah.
willing to teach and all those things. So my advice would be, if you're interested, ask somebody. Ask me. I'm happy to share my story or make recommendations or anything like that too. So
Yeah.
that's what
Nice.
I would offer.
I love that.
yeah, and you can always, to anybody listening, I know we've given our general email before. You can always email us questions as well. We monitor that. You can use the contact us on our website if you want to go that avenue, whichever you want to use. But
Yeah.
yeah, many ways to get a hold of us.
I'm curious, Terrence, because you mentioned like being passionate about this, and we kind of touched on what's driving us in our first episode. So, what is kind of like the fuel to your passion about the industry? Is it larger than just the people, or is it because for me, it's like the supporting of small businesses that we have. And yes, there are larger businesses that play in our sandbox, but the foundation of our industry is the small businesses. So I'm curious, like if that's different or something else for you.
No, I think, listen, I think you guys are spot on. I think that it's, for me, it really is. I give you another quick story that I recall when I got into this business. And this is when I was managing the California gift show. And I hope I can say this on the
Of
podcast.
course. Anything you want.
I'm just saying, yeah, but I'm just trying to say it. So I recall back in the day when I met Ty Warner for the first time. And I,
Beanie
Yeah.
and they were an exhibitor at the California Gift Show, and I think in 600 square feet of space or something like that. And then they grew. But I never forget when, looking at this product and thinking, wow, this Thai Beanie Babies, I'd heard about them, but I didn't. And I never forget when he first got the sale for the Happy Meals, when the
Yeah.
Beanie Babies were going into Happy Meals. And my point to the story is like, I remember where I was when I learn about Thai Beanie Baby and to see where they finished. I mean,
Yeah.
this guy became obviously extremely wealthy
Right.
buying Four Seasons and all this other kind of stuff off of
Yeah.
Beanie Babies. But it was just like for me, as I watched that whole process, I was like, wow, I remember when, right? And
Yeah.
there's a lot of stories like that
Yeah.
are out
Yeah.
there. There are a lot of great stories of people that started in small booths at a trade show and are monstrosities.
Yeah.
So
Found
I
success.
think, yeah, that's kind of like where that passion comes from. I was like, wow, like I was
Yeah.
around and I wasn't, when I say part of it, I was part of it from a perspective. I watched it, like I
Right.
saw, and
That's what you
there,
doing.
yeah, there are more story. Those stories are not, there are more of those stories even today.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of like,
Yeah, I mean, like Brewmate kind of was one that came to my mind.
hmm,
I saw them like early on in the pandemic on heavy social media advertisements. It was like the gift I was giving all my friends for a while. And then next thing I know, I see them at a show and their booth space in the showroom's only like 100 square feet. And by that next show, they took up like almost an entire aisle
yeah,
of
yeah. I mean, like I
space.
said,
And they
there's a
just,
lot of, and that gives you, that kind of like explains or helps you understand why markets are important, right? I mean, it's
Mhm.
kind of like that story, like 100
Yeah.
or 100 square feet to like 10,000. You're like, what? I mean,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
so So that's fun. That's fun because, like I said, that goes to show you that that goes to show you the impact of the industry and what it really means, what it does. I mean, that's a reflection of how important our business is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like we're all, even though maybe not directly involved, like we all know of like Ty or we know of Brewmate, may not interact with them directly or represent them,
Yeah.
but we're all in a sense like part of this community.
We all
And we're
celebrate
all
each other's
watching
successes.
exactly
So,
celebrating each other's successes. You're never gonna know what that next like blow up product is, right?
yeah.
Like it just happens, and you never know. You can't predict it, but it just
Well,
happens.
yeah, like right now, we were talking about this earlier, how Nitos are reselling for like $40. And I'm just like, okay, sell all the squishy toys we have. Come on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So you like I said, you don't know what's next. You really
yeah,
don't.
Yeah.
just happens.
And we had fidget spinners. Those were on and popping for a while.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Like I said, we all have stories, right? We all have like I have a lot of stories about companies that have really kind of become successful in based in this industry, right? So,
That's so cool. I love that.
I know ANDMORE does. I don't know if they do so much like an internship type thing, but I know that ANDMORE is pretty heavily involved with like surrounding areas, schools, and like I see, I don't know what to call them, but I see like tour guides, if you will, that give tours to, I don't know if it's students, I don't know if it's people that have registered through something, but I know that ANDMORE is pretty heavily involved with like participating in that kind of stuff during market, which I think is awesome because it helps, I'm assuming expose this to those select groups. What does that like look like and how does somebody get involved in that kind of thing?
well, it really kind of depends on what we're doing. Like we provide buyer orientations for people who've never been to market, first time buyers, right? So, I mean, you guys have been to the campus, so you know how overwhelming it could possibly be, for someone who's never done it before, right? So, we provide those types of tours, but we also have internships that we provide as well for basic colleges and things of that magnitude. And I'm not as familiar with it because I'm on the leasing side. But I do know that we do it. So, and we're always willing to give back to our local communities and things of that magnitude. Community is important. So yeah, we do those things.
Nice.
Awesome.
Okay. We'll get more info and share it with our listeners. So, in one sentence, how would you describe show or markets?
Wow. In one sentence, how would I describe a market? I think I probably would say it would depend on which market we're talking about, right? Because
Okay, okay.
yeah,
Do one for each of
Yeah, do
the
one for
main.
Atlanta and one for Vegas.
Yeah.
I think Atlanta is been around for 60 plus years. So if you're in the business, you're going to do the Atlanta market. You have to do the Atlanta market because that's it's history.
Yeah.
It's what you do. It's where everybody is. And when I look at Las Vegas really kind of started their gift journey in probably 2012 again from the original time around. And the objective of that market obviously was to really kind of provide people an opportunity on the West Coast to do business with the exit of all the other markets that used to exist. And I think that they're two different markets, without a doubt. I mean, like I said, one
Yeah.
50 plus years, the other one you have, that's 14 years. That's a big difference. I think that in some ways the buyers are different. West Coast buyers are different than the Southeast and the
Mhm.
East. So, you markets perform based on, I think, on those scenarios, to be honest. I think that they both, like everything else, have extreme value for their purpose, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Very thorough description of either one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd say Vegas probably also maybe you'll have more fun after work. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
Depends.
there's
Atlanta's fun too.
there's opportunity without a doubt. I mean,
Yeah.
there's like any market you go to, you can have fun after work.
That's
However, you know, uh, it could be Vegas could be costly. It
this
could
is
be
true.
Yes.
Vegas could be
Depending
expensive.
on
uh,
your vice of choice.
Exactly, depending on what you consider to be fun.
Yeah, funny.
Fun is what you make it.
I know, exactly. Well,
Exactly, exactly.
I think you touched on it already, but we'll wrap with our favorite question. What is the one thing that you absolutely love about working in this industry?
Again, the people. I
Yeah.
mean, I both internally and externally. I guess that I've met some really amazing people in this industry in my time, and made some some really deep friendships. Which normally when you're working, you don't make those types of
Yeah.
friendships. You,
Yeah.
you, you kind of keep work and personal separate. In this case, I still do that, but there are people whom, like I said, are like I introduced you guys as family, people
Yeah.
that are, not only colleagues, but people whom I have a high regard for and you know, spend personal time with them because that's just what I want to do. So I think that this opportunity provides that for me. And I think that's why I've been in it as long as I have, for sure.
Nice. Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
have anything else to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think the ANDMORE Market Center does help to provide, like, I believe, and I think it's the same for Vegas and for Atlanta, but I believe like your tenants, when they have job listings, whether it's new sales representation, whether it's showroom help, temps, whatever. I believe and more provides kind of a space on your website to help post like exhibitor type positions, which I think is great because it helps to build like one central place for it, assuming you know about the market center at least. So to our listeners, anybody curious, that's another avenue you can go to if you're curious or looking to find something to get into it, whether it's temping or like a permanent type position. And I think that ideology also kind of helps what we've been preaching. Like, Terrence, on our website for our association, we actually started a job board as well because we strongly believe in like the community behind it, and we all survive and thrive when we are all represented in like a central place versus, none of us are big enough like a Target or a Wells Fargo or whatever, where you're like, oh, I'm gonna go work for that company because I know of that company, right? It's like with this, it's like I love this industry. I don't know specific, businesses within it, but I want to go to a place where I can look and see what availabilities there are. So I think it's great that the Market Center does that kind of like hosting for it. And I think Dallas does it as well
Yeah,
for
they
their
do.
exhibitors.
Yeah, and I think another thing I want to point out is that, like, look, you don't have to start out loving the industry. Industry has to give you something to love first.
Yes.
But I do think that if you give it a chance, you definitely would like it for sure. I mean, like really thinking about it from that perspective. I mean, I think you will like it and you will learn to love it.
Yeah.
If it's something you really feel some type of if intrigued by it in some type of way or another. So let's make that very clear.
Yeah. Good
And
point.
to any of our listeners, if you find yourself temping at a show, whether it's Vegas or Atlanta or taking on a sales rep position, but if you find yourself at market, even if you're a buyer or you're tagging along with a buyer, whatever you're doing, you can almost always find Terrence at market. He will be the most sharp dressed guy in the building, most likely a nice, colorful suit,
Yes.
very sharp dressed. You can't miss him. So, yeah,
Stylish man walking down the halls.
yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate that. And sincerely, if anybody is ever around and wants to pick my brain or whatever, I'm happy to. I feel that strongly about the industry that I will help bring anybody in that I possibly can. Definitely.
So,
Yeah, I
well,
think I think you know almost every person in this industry, so
probably.
yeah, I think
Just,
you'd be the guy to go to for sure.
just I know a few people. That's about that's all.
Okay, well,
Definitely.
more people know about you at
Yeah.
least, so yeah.
Well, great. Yay. Thank you so much, Terrence. This has been an insightful conversation. Full circle, seeing a lot of the different roles that can exist. So, and that you could try becoming.
Thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I feel honored that you guys asked me to be a part of this journey. So this is great.
Yeah, of
Thank you.
course. We wouldn't not ask you
Yeah,
because yes, family. So
family. And I have to ask this question, it's totally unrelated, but I know this is to the LA scene when you were coming up and you and my mom worked together in some capacity. Is it true that people thought you were Humpty from Digital Underground?
That's one thing they thought. Yeah, they
yeah.
they thought, they thought a lot of things about me. Yeah, that's for a long time, and this is you probably. I'll let you edit this if you want to, but I'll just say the funny story. I used to be known as the black guy in the industry, and the reason what that was is people always say, "Hey, you know Terence Morris," and people are like Terrence, like the black guy. Like, oh yes, I know. And
Further
that was
goes into the DEI
Yeah.
thing and
yeah.
why, yeah,
So
why we
so
need
it was
to,
like because they saw me at all the shows, they didn't know who I was. So
Yeah.
when people say, "Do you know Terrence Morris?" They were like, "Who?" The black guy. Oh, I know
oh
him.
yeah, I
Oh,
do know
that's
I
Terrence.
fun.
Yeah,
can do
of
that.
course. Yeah,
So along with Humpty or whatever it
Yeah.
is,
yeah, yeah,
the
So
black guy.
yeah.
cool.
Yes.
Well,
Well,
excellent.
wonderful. We hope you're not too crazy getting ready for market since it is earlier this year, but we
It's
appreciate you taking the
a
time.
couple weeks out, but we'll be ready for sure. And I look forward to seeing you all for sure.
Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing you, of
Awesome.
course.
Yay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks so much, Terrence.
Thank you.
Y'all
Bye.
have a great day. Bye now.
Curious about any of the opportunities discussed in this episode? Be sure to check out the industry job board at wholesaletalent.com. And thanks for listening to Beyond the Stockroom.